Arsenal look like champions. They really do. And at this point, I think they will become champions. This is an utterly impressive win against Fulham, 3-0. What a performance from Arsenal. I have nothing bad to say. There's nothing you can say. What a performance they just put on. What a show. Start to finish, dominant, utterly dominant. And, for me, this was just yet another performance that you can sit there and say, this team, this Arsenal team, they're young, but they look like champions. I think this is the combination of what you get when you have hungry players that have title winning experience, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, and you combine them with the young, hungry players who haven't won anything, Asaka, Martinelli, etc. And then they're all coached by a manager, Mikel Arteta, who has won it with Manchester City as an assistant, but now he's eager and hungry to win it over Pep Guardiola as manager now. Everyone in this Arsenal team looks hungry, ferocious, and ready to win. They have the experience, enough experience to where, they have title winning experience in the locker room. They know what it takes to win, and they can kind of teach that to the other players. And that's what you're seeing right now. Genuinely, this is what you're seeing right now. You're seeing a team that's calm, composed, poised, and ready to win right now. And it's been so impressive. Where do you even start other than Leandro Trossard? For me, you can make the debate. Trossard was the best signing made in the January transfer window, and it was not in. It's crazy because it was only made because Chelsea swooped in and stole Mudryk from Arsenal, and I think it was a fantastic signing at the time. And time again, so far, I'm being proved why I was right about that, because this guy, we knew he was good, and then he came to Arsenal, a top two team in the league. I would say right now the best team in the league, and he is just performing so excellently. And today, 3 assists. And this is like it's not a surprise that the signing has worked. I mean, it's a Premier League proven player joining the best team in the league. Of course, it was going to work, and it's absolutely worked like a charm. So I give credit to the Arsenal board, Mikel Arteta, for making that transfer happen. Fantastic signing, really really good signing, and it's yet another move that Arsenal made. That it's like this is why if they win the title, this is why they became champions because they made a move like that. That's just what it is. Because they made this Trossard move, that's why they will ultimately become champions, amongst a bunch of other reasons. And it's crazy. They were able to perform like this, and Saka didn't have his best day. You know what I mean? Like Saka did not play his best game, and they still utterly dominated. Complete performance. Basically, Fulham had no chance from the very beginning. And that's scary, man, because this team, pretty much everyone played well. I mean, I'm not going to say Saka played bad, but he didn't play his best game compared to how well we know he can play. And they still utterly dominated. Martinelli looks to actually be firing on all cylinders again. The midfield was great. Odegaard firing again. The defense has been great all season. Yet another good performance today. It's just one of those things. For me, Arsenal are proving why they will become champions. And for me, I said it. I'll admit, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll admit it. After the Manchester City game, when they lost 3-1, I said Man City were going to go on a run, and I think this could be the end of Arsenal in the sense that they're going to have a couple blips up from here. We're going to really Arsenal are going to be tested from here on in about their character and how truly ready is this team to become champions. And I anticipated a couple draws, maybe a couple losses, things that drops in form. But since the Man City game, 5 wins in the Premier League on the bounce. And it's been really, really convincing wins. I mean, we're talking 4-2 against Aston Villa, where Villa did take the lead, but Arsenal came back and won. They beat Leicester 1-0. They beat Everton 4-0, a team that beat them earlier in the Premier League season. And then that amazing comeback against Bournemouth. They're winning in so many different ways. It just at this point, it feels like Arsenal are the team of destiny. It really does because they are finding ways to win. Like obviously at this point, everyone, if you're not an Arsenal fan, is rooting against them. It feels like so. Bournemouth are up, and it's like okay, Arsenal are actually going to drop points to Bournemouth of all teams, and then they make that comeback. It's like this is the team of destiny. It feels like this team is going to find a way to make it happen. When we left for the World Cup break, Arsenal were 5 points clear of Manchester City. This is how many that's what it was. Manchester City, and we all thought Man City were going to find a way at that point. Oh well, they're only 5 points clear. There's still many games left. Now here we are. Man City and Arsenal both on 27 games played, 11 games left to go in the Premier League season, and we are still 5 points separated between the two. So every game that goes by, it's like, when are Man City going to make up this gap? And even if Man City beat Arsenal at the Etihad when they play each other again, they still have to get Arsenal to lose again. And I will admit, beating some of the teams they've beaten is not necessarily impressive per se. Beating Aston Villa right now isn't a completely impressive performance. Leicester, Everton, Bournemouth, Fulham, I will give them credit for. That's a seventh place team, and they basically dismantled them. But you know the point that I'm trying to make here. But it is getting a little bit more difficult for Arsenal in the future here. I mean, obviously, the next two games are Crystal Palace and Leeds. They probably will win both of those. They should win both of those. Liverpool, no matter what's going on with Liverpool, that's always going to be a difficult game. We just saw them dismantle Manchester United 7-0, then obviously lose to Bournemouth. So you never know what you're going to get. But you would anticipate those players would be fired up for that game and that they would be able to, see their best. And it's at Anfield, which is never an easy place to go into. So then you've got, obviously, on April 26th, Manchester City. I mean, Arsenal, they play Man City, Chelsea, and Newcastle back-to-back weeks. And obviously, Newcastle are not been the same recently, but it's still going to be a tough game. That's what it is. It's going to be a tough game. So that is the stretch, that 3-game stretch where they play Man City, Chelsea, and Newcastle. That's going to decide if Arsenal win the Premier League. Because right now they look like they could do it. They look like they have the character to be champions. But I think that the Premier League title will come down to the 3-game stretch of Arsenal. April 26th, April 29th, and May 6th. Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle. If Arsenal are able to take 6 points from those 3 games, 6 points from those 3 games, at that point they've won the league. That's it. They've won the league. So obviously that means they can't afford any blips, any slip ups up until that 3-game period. Obviously Liverpool is also a tough game, but they don't that doesn't exactly correlate with the 3-game period that I'm talking about. But obviously they probably need to get at least a draw in that game as well. So realistically, if Arsenal can beat the teams that they should beat and then get favorable results in Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, and Newcastle games, they've won the league. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But that's going to be the period where it really is true and time to test this Arsenal team. But as of right now, I think they can take care of business and make it happen. And I've been rooting against it all season, but at this point, I have to just accept the reality. Arsenal are an incredible team, and I think that they ultimately may go on and win the Premier League. And that there's conversations to be had. What does that mean for Manchester City? That's a video for another day. But right now, I sit here and I say, Arsenal, you may have won the Premier League. And that's an incredible achievement. What that would mean for Arsenal, not only, for the club, but also the future of the club. I mean, good players would want to come to Arsenal now. Mikel Arteta would have proven himself. And I think Arsenal would be setting themselves up to become a Premier League dynasty in the future, potentially the true signifying the end of the Klopp and Pep era in the Premier League, which would be absolutely crazy. Nobody would have expected that coming into the season. But, I mean, obviously, they still have the Europa League, and like I said, if I'm Arsenal, I'm not prioritizing if I'm Arsenal, I am not prioritizing the Europa League. I kind of like what they did against Sporting in the first leg. They played a pretty rotational side, and they were still able to get a favorable result, a draw in Lisbon. So you kind of take that. I just think that they should be putting 100% focused on the Premier League. If they get eliminated in the Europa League right now to Sporting, it's not the end of the world. Who really cares? Because would you rather win the Premier League or the Europa League? Give me the Premier League all day. You know what I mean? And I love the Europa League. I respect the Europa League. I think it's a great competition. Chelsea have won it twice. I mean, you take that. It's a good trophy to win. But if you're basically already gonna make top 4, you're already gonna make Champions League, which Arsenal are, and they're actually fighting to win the Premier League title. I would not want to bottle the Premier League title because I'm trying to win the Europa League. And Arteta knows that. He's a smart coach. He's not gonna put Arsenal at danger of bottling the Premier League so that they can win Europa League. You know what I mean? Even when it gets close, if they make the semifinals of it or whatever, it's not going to come down to that. But that 3-game period where I talk about Manchester City away, Chelsea at home, and then Newcastle away, that could end up having Europa League games kind of in between that, or kind of, making that schedule very congested up at that point, which would make it very, very interesting, even more interesting than it already is, because that already is pretty much. I mean, they play Man City and Chelsea 3 days apart, and the way Chelsea been playing right now, that's going to be a rejuvenated Chelsea, a Chelsea that we've seen it time and time again. Chelsea love spoiling the party of a London club's Premier League title race. You know what I mean? They did it to Spurs. We all remember that iconic Eden Hazard goal. Passes it to Diego Costa. Costa spins around, plays it back to Eden Hazard. Hazard puts it in top bins. Leicester City celebrate. They've won the Premier League. Who's to say Chelsea aren't going to spoil it for Arsenal and then ultimately maybe win Manchester City the league? But we will have to wait and see. But I'm super, super impressed from what I just saw from Arsenal. They may have just won the Premier League. What do you think of this Arsenal performance? What do you think of Arsenal in general this season? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm very interested to hear what y'all would have to say about it, because I was utterly impressed watching Arsenal today, and they may have won the Premier League. So, yeah, I'm Zach. I will see y'all next time for another video on the channel. Peace.